Welcome back to the Quiet On Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan.
Welcome back. Oh, yes, we are back after a 2-week hiatus. Obviously,
Mhm.
as Ewan was in Venice and I
was.
not. Yes. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean I
Mhm.
did nothing, though. I actually did nothing, to be fair. I didn't really do much in the past 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
Ewan, you are the star of the show today. What are we talking about?
We're talking about the 90th, or I guess it was the 79th Venice Film Festival, aka the Biennale, aka the Golden Lion distributor that doesn't go out to a Idris Elba summer flick flop called Beast, but gives out the Golden Lion. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about Venice, baby.
That was a string of just references and numbers,
Information.
and you were just throwing shit at me, man.
Yes.
Other than talking about the films that Ewan saw at Venice, we are talking about the award winners at Venice and what that means for the upcoming award season. So let's cue the intro and get into the show.
We are
Obviously,
professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Well, welcome back, Lachlan.
No,
I'm really
welcome
happy
back,
to be
Ewan.
back from. Yeah, I am
Yeah.
back. You, I guess, never went anywhere.
I didn't
and,
do anything.
You didn't do anything. I took on a 8-hour train ride down to Venice and stayed there for 12 nights, watching a bunch of films that we'll get into shortly. But in order for us to not be talking just about Venice today, there's quickly the sad passing of a cinema legend, Jean Luc Godard, who was a big influence in the French New Wave with films A Bout de Souffle, Breathless, Pierrot le Fou. He is a legendary filmmaker with over 100 movies total, a true tried and true iconic person in film history, and yeah, sad to see him pass. But yeah, I was about to mention the Queen, but we'll leave that out of this recording. Just forgot that there's also another notable person that passed away that was also probably close to their 90s. But that's that. No news this week because this is not a typical type of episode. It's Venice themed, just all
It's
Venice.
Venice, baby.
Yes, it is Venice, baby. If you want to skip around to something particularly that interests you, the Timecodes link below. And yeah, before we get into Venice, Lachlan, you have been in Perth. You didn't really leave your town. You stayed in Australia, didn't come to Europe, but you did watch something. So what was that?
I did watch a few things. I didn't really log anything on Letterboxd because I was, I didn't want to know how little I was watching because I didn't really watch a lot,
Compared.
if I'm totally honest. I
Yeah.
did tell you that I was very into the Batman Arkham games before you left, and
Yeah, right.
let you know I
Where you at?
finished it. I finished all of Asylum, City,
City?
and Night. I've done all three of those.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
played the absolute living shit out of it. Literally, I think I've clocked in about 50 hours on
Damn.
Arkham Knight.
Okay.
So I had a busy week doing that, but this is not
Yeah.
a video game podcast. I mean, it's a
Right.
podcast about movies, but I did watch a couple of TV shows that I just have been trying to get around to.
Mhm.
First of all, obviously, Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
excellent. I still haven't watched House of Dragon, which I'm going to eventually get around to. Haven't
Yeah.
watched Rick and Morty. Wow, this is I'm supposed to be talking about stuff that I watched or haven't watched. Shit. Look, been continuing on with Star Wars, The Clone Wars, finishing that
Mhm.
show, especially now there's a new Star Wars animated show coming out soon, and I am
Yeah.
so hyped for that. Young Count Dooku and Qui-Gon sign me the hell up.
Yeah.
I've also, as my big one that I watched Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which both myself and my girlfriend were very excited to kind of watch. We thought it was a very cute
Mhm.
trailer when it came out, and my god, that movie slap. It slaps so
Right, it's
hard.
so sweet. It's so sweet.
Such a cute little story.
Yeah, really heartfelt, and it did release on VOD, which is great. A24 usually with distribution sometimes doesn't happen worldwide, but if it gets out on VOD, you can get your hands on it somehow. And yeah, it's such a sweet little story, and it's crazy to see like something emerge from a bunch of YouTube short films that they did into a feature-length film, and it really works well, right? He's so charming, that little shell with its shoes on. How high does Marcel rank in like your overall yearly ranking? I'm curious. Does it break into the top 10 or something like that?
It possibly could break into the top 10 with my current ranking. I did go through a couple of my films and re-rank them on Letterboxd the other night. So
Right.
there is possibly a sneaky little entry that it could make onto my top 10. No, it's definitely better than a number of the other films that I've seen this year. And it definitely could squeeze its way probably more early on the list, because obviously my current like year-to-date favorite movies is The Secrets of Dumbledore and The Bubble. Those are definitely my two highest rated films of the year. Sorry, did I say
Everything
highest?
Everywhere and
I
After
meant
Yang. Yeah,
Yep.
lowest. All right,
Yeah,
all right,
lowest.
all right.
So no, yeah, gotta say Marcel the Shell was a very adorable film that you're immediately taken into this world, and you're like, I don't care that this is clearly fake. It's done so well, and the humor also absolutely slapped with how honest Marcel can be, and how deadpan their delivery of lines can also be. They're meant to be these really cute little objects, but really they'll just say some dark shit. So no, yeah, if you want a good little film, the film's only like an hour and a half. You can squeeze it in.
Yeah, it's a
and you'll
breeze to
have a
get
great
through.
time. I don't see anyone really disliking it, and if I'm totally honest, I actually haven't seen what the reviews have been like for Marcel. I'm just gonna load it up. I'm gonna get a
I
live
think it's like a
reaction right now.
4.1, probably.
Marcel the Shell
On
with
Letterboxd, I mean.
shoes on. Yep. Oh wow. Yeah. No. Everyone's loving it. Maybe I should have
wow.
said I disliked it.
Yeah, damn, it's a 4.3 on Letterboxd. That's really high.
Yeah.
It's 70 highest rated film of all time. I don't know if I agree with that, but it's just a really like adorable film that's really cute. But like you said, it has those deadpan moments to kind of ground it in reality. And it's also beautifully shot with like, that tiny shell, and then you shoot it with, I don't know if they shot it particularly with macro lenses, but it just looks really nice. The animation is super clean, and it's sweet without being cheesy. I think that's also like a tonal balance that they strike that is just super, just fun to watch him go around and on those little quests that he has. But yeah, that's all you've been watching, right?
Yeah, practically, other than, as I said, Clone Wars. I don't think I said Supernatural, still clawing my way through Supernatural, all 50 seasons of Supernatural.
Jesus, yeah.
And funnily enough, I just noticed because I was driving past my local art house cinema, and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies came out. So I need to go see that as soon as possible, because no, don't go see it. No, Ewan's pulling
No,
a face.
go see it.
No.
I'm just reacting because I'm not getting it anytime soon. It doesn't
Oh,
have a
right.
release date here.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. No, obviously not. How would I
okay.
be able to see it? It's only in.
Well, I don't
it's
know.
only
You
in
went to
theaters.
Venice. Like, I don't know what
I
you
did go to
fucking did
Venice,
at
but
this point.
it played at South by in May. South by is in March. I don't know, but it played earlier in the year. It premiered at South by, and in Austin, Texas, and probably played a few other festivals. But because it came out, there's no real festival run that it needs to do. I can already take this away. In Venice, there were a shit ton of A24 films. Like there was an abundance. Also, a lot of Netflix film. Maybe that can bridge us into the Venice discussion. But yeah, you should definitely go see Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But I think Netflix is still not really accepted in Cannes. So the bunch of films that could have premiered maybe in Cannes as well, all premiered in Venice. So I think we had like 6 or 7 Netflix films that just premiered in Venice, like a whole bunch of them. And Lachlan, if you had to guess, what do you think? How many movies did I watch in my 10, 11 days in Venice?
30.
30, close. Add another 10 to that, and then you are there. I had a really
And
busy
add another
week.
10, and add another 10,
Add another,
and add another 10, and you're basically there.
yes, 19 films a day did I watch.
Incredible.
No, I watched 40 films, so it was a really packed week. I'm still behind on making short little reviews for all of them. And now that TIFF is going on and some films are also releasing, I'm kind of on a bit of stress. I need to get those out. But you find them on my YouTube channel. And I'll also do a couple more videos relating to Venice to give you a bit of an overview of what to watch this upcoming Oscar season. We'll get into that later on. But maybe, Lachlan, why don't we kick it off with what my personal highlights were, right, from the festival?
Okay,
What's
go
something
ahead.
that got the biggest hype out of the festival? And my personal favorites were the new Martin McDonagh film, The Banshees of Inishirin, which we were both quite curious for. You're a big fan of Martin McDonagh, and especially in Bruges, right? And it sees those
Oh,
two
definitely.
actors reunite. We got Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson in this, and a donkey. There's also a donkey in the film. That's really funny. It is a hilariously awesome film. It is so incredibly funny. It's got a really witty script, and maybe to already kind of take away because it's attached to the film, Colin Farrell won best performance for that film. Kind of a bit surprising because we got Brendan Fraser's return in The Whale, the A24 film from Darren Aronofsky, which was my second favorite film of the festival. Those two were definitely the standouts and the ones to keep on your radar. And yeah, like they had some amazing films this year, I'd say. There were a few surprises as well, maybe a disappointment. Lachlan, you and I both really enjoyed Florian Zeller's debut feature, The Father, which is a stage play adaptation.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he
Are
has
you gonna
the
talk, are you talking about The
continuation.
Sun?
I'm talking about The Son and his next film, The
Okay.
Holy Spirit. Yeah, he did this film that's also based on maybe another stage play that he did. Oh, it's just at least it is an adaptation of that. I don't know if he's also the writer. Probably he's also the writer behind that. But yeah, that movie was a huge disappointment. I think
wow.
it was just terribly written and not well performed. Just didn't come together at all. There's kind of split reactions out of that film because it certainly pulls on your heartstring. I didn't read anything about what it's about, but it's clearly about like parenting and taking care of a depressed son. And it's Laura Dern and Hugh Jackman in the leading roles. I just wasn't at all engaged with the lead performance, basically from the kid character. He just was just a whiny, annoying teenager, and although it goes into very serious, heavy topics, but it does them in such a, to me, surface level way that I just thought was not good. It was a huge disappointment. I was really sad after the film, but not for that reason of maybe being emotionally engaged. But there were a bunch of people next to me who were just bawling their eyes out towards the end of the film. So there's probably gonna be a more general audience that's gonna connect with it quite a bit, but I just thought it was a bit weak.
Would you say that, like, other than the main young performer's performance, would you say Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern, are their performances better?
Yeah, Laura Dern is great in it. She just is not really in the film that much. She's the ex-wife of Hugh
Okay.
Jackman, and it's also like about him not being able to connect with people, not really communicate. He's a successful business guy, so he doesn't really have
Yep.
time. So he's about that problem-solving thing of like, oh, why don't we figure this out and it's all solved. So it's like that type of personality, and that like aspect. It is interesting to look at depression of a father that's not really trying to be emotionally in tune with his son, but they're so disconnected. So that like
Okay.
the potential is there for a great story. I think it didn't come together as well, like in Hugh Jackman's performance as well. I also thought that directing was pretty weak, and that was one of the highlights of The Father, but it's also shot in a very blank way. It was
Mm.
it was just kind of boring to me and really repetitive. And I like, to me, the personal highlight was Vanessa Kirby, who's playing like his younger new girlfriend who has a kid with him. That's a bit of like tension that comes into the plot, and she works really well in it. I think she's definitely the highlight, but I don't see anyone in this also like up for awards contention, by the way.
Okay.
I think it just wasn't strong enough. So, like I mentioned before, there were quite a few big Netflix films that were premiering at the festival. Maybe most notably and most well known would be Noah Baumbach, the director of Marriage Story, who is back with Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig to adapt the novel from Don DeLillo, White Noise. It was the opening film that played at the festival. It's as weird as the novel, but I think it's really worth checking out. There were quite some mixed reactions. I don't know. It was really weird because Netflix had these next three films that I'm briefly going to talk about were all 2.5 hours or even longer than that, and they were all really controversial or skewing a bit negatively by just
Okay.
how openly ambitious and odd they were. And I think, like, weirdly enough, White Noise, I think, is the tamest of those three. From Noah Baumbach, I quite enjoyed it. It's like my 7th, 8th most liked film going out of the festival. It's coming to Netflix later this year. Same goes for Andrew Dominik's Blonde, with Ana de Amas, that also premiered there, and really a lot of people didn't like it. This one is 166 minutes long. I didn't feel how long it was. It felt more like 2 hours maybe. But it's also a lot of just awkward scenes, where Ana de Armas just calls an older man daddy like 20 times. I kid you not. She probably says daddy in this film 50 times. It's also the amount of times that she's naked, strolling around in this film as well. It's definitely like has the ambition to be as like artistically just flamboyant and out there as possible. It like constantly changes aspect ratios, goes from black and white to color to like back to black and white. It feels like a mess, but I think it's trying to be that, and it's definitely like a movie you'd have to dissect to get into it. And I always say that if you need to dissect a film and watch it again, if on the first watch you didn't get like much out of it already, then it's not really achieving what it sets out to do. It should like work with every watch that you do and just like deepen that. I'm really curious about like what you make of it once it releases on Netflix, because it really is like a really complex film, uh but it's also very messy, and I think it's
Mm.
intentionally messy. But another controversial thing coming out of the festival, and then probably the least liked film by a lot of people coming out of it, from The Birdman, The Revenant, Babel director Alejandro González Iñárritu. He had his new film premiere at the festival, Bardo, which is the closest one to 3 hours, and I really felt those 3 hours. It's kind of, it feels kind of a bit autobiographical, but obviously has like a lot of moments that aren't like founded in reality, but are just out there creative expression. And I think it just really doesn't come together. It has like nice little notes that work, specific certain scenes, but as a whole it comes off as like this pretentious mess of self-indulged self-expression from an artist who's like trying to do a magnum opus, but it just completely falls flat, and maybe he thinks no one gets it. I was disappointed, but I wasn't really anticipating this one that much. Bardo, the false chronicle of a handful of truths. And yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but that's also coming out on Netflix. So they had like their award season run, and I think none of those are gonna be in the awards contention. I just don't see that happening.
All right, man. I want to ask you about
Yeah,
3 or 4 different films that you haven't
right.
currently talked about. First one's Master Gardener. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Paul Schrader.
Paul Schrader's new film, and he's been kind of on this run since First Reformed with his writing directing gigs. First with Ethan Hawke, then with Oscar Isaac, and yeah, now he's here with Joel Edgerton, depicting these complex, really flawed characters that don't have like much moral ambiguity that would skew them towards a good side. They're really complex in their morality, and there's also like a component to their profession, and he's kind of made this kind of not connected trilogy of movies that are kind of similar, with First Reform being by far my favorite. But here it's about a master gardener who works for a rich lady, and I mean the rest of it, gonna leave that open because there's like something it builds towards that I think if you don't know, it kind of maybe catches you off guard a bit more, and it's definitely like something that makes you think. And I've what I like about Paul Schrader, because he did write Taxi Driver, right? That type of energy he brings to a lot of his films, and it's definitely also in Master Gardener, and I quite enjoyed it. It made my top 10 at the festival.
Oh, well then let's move on to Dune Part 2, known as Bones and All.
I wish. Dune Part 2, directed by Luca Guadagnino, would also be interesting. But this is another adaptation by of a book. And it's by Luca Guadagnino, the Call Me By Your Name director. And after Armie Hammer has now come out as a cannibal, maybe Guadagnino was inspired to do an actual cannibal movies about it's a teen road trip film as well, with Taylor Russell, who was in the Escape Room films, and dear and beloved Timothy Chalamet. He's in this. He by the way, I'm gonna put up a picture. He rocked a crazy outfit at the Venice Film Festival, and I caught a glimpse of him as well as he was getting on the red carpet. But this movie is like, it has that energy that Call Me By Your Name also has, with just like being really in the present with those characters and just letting them breathe. And it's also a bit about love and a bit about like finding yourself, finding your own identity and your own path. But it's a bit held back by the plot. And I haven't had time or I didn't get the book. I actually bought it, but it didn't arrive in time, so I couldn't read it, unfortunately. But I don't know how closely it stayed to the novel, but it feels like towards the end, especially, like there's a lot of drama that doesn't really need to be in there, especially in a Luca Guadagnino film. I was like, I didn't need that. But apart from the ending that was a bit butchered in my mind, it's a really interesting film about like someone who eats people, and you're
Cool.
trying to root for them just as they find themselves. So keep that on the lookout. I'm not entirely sure. Is it also on Netflix? I'm not entirely sure. It's all blending into, because I'm definitely missing some Netflix films, but I unfortunately didn't write down, especially one of the less English centered films. I have no clue which ones were produced for Netflix. There were at least like 7. But the last thing there was about Netflix that I forgot is the Nicholas Winding Refn miniseries, Copenhagen Cowboy. I didn't finish the entire series because I didn't have time to stay for 6 hours in the theater. I just stayed for the first half of the first 3 episodes. And I mean, that's one of your favorite filmmakers, right? With Drive. He does something kind of unique and odd here, where he just follows a character that kind of has like some weird powers, and it's also about like it's really gritty as well. It's really dark, as you'd expect. But I didn't like super connect with it. I haven't rated it yet because I am waiting for, I guess, once it hits Netflix and I get to finish the whole series. But I mean, it's interesting. It also stars his own daughter, Lizzie Lou Winding Refn, I think, or at least someone who's related to him. I just noticed that. But yeah, that's another thing that's coming to Netflix.
We'll just do a quick speed run. Tar, yes or no?
Amazing performance from Kate Blanchett.
Excellent.
Awards
Cool.
contention, definitely. Yeah.
Pearl.
Not as good as X. Certainly interesting, and
Okay.
I'm keen to see this, see it in the 80s with Maxine, with 3X's. Just premiered a teaser trailer at TIFF, and the movie's coming out, I think, in a week or two. So.
Don't worry, darling.
So bad.
Oh, really?
Like,
That
I know
bad,
the drama behind it. Let's not get into that. It's just idiotic. But yeah, Don't Worry Darling was just really weak, surface level stuff. Didn't
That
work for me at
is
all. And Harry Styles is quite
That
bad.
is unfortunate then.
Yeah.
What else? Oh yeah. There's that new Dead for a Dollar. That new western that has like everybody in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was my lowest ranked film of the
Oh
festival.
really?
3 out of 10. It is so terrible. It is like
Uh.
it's like trying to be an old western with cool characters, but no one is cool. It is shot like the cinematography is one of the worst like showcases for cinematography
Oh
ever.
gosh.
No characters are engaging, and like Christoph Waltz and Willem Dafoe are great, but they are shot like there's certain moments that like okay, you need a close up on this. You need to get the nuance, and they stay in a medium. Like there's some technical stuff that just does that's just wrong, just plain out wrong. And this movie is just terrible. It's really bad.
Other than that, I think that's all of the movies. Because I know that you said Banshees of Inishirin was like your highest.
Amazing.
The Whale was
Yes.
second highest.
I think there's like a few of the non-English films that I would shout out. Maybe I'll shout out the ones that made it into my top 10, which would be a Luxembourg, I think Ukrainian comedy about a set of twins that are on the search, like trying to visit their father who's in Luxembourg, as he's on his deathbed, and it's really funny. I was at a screening where both of the leads were there, and then separately the next day I ran into them once in front of the theater as they were passing, and then like 3 hours later as I was grocery shopping on the other side of the island, I ran into them again. So that was kind of funny. I watched the film Our Ties, Le Mien, by Rushdie Zem, which is he's becoming bigger and bigger in French cinema, and a really great film about like a family that's I think if it's like about a family that's broken apart by the dynamics, this is way better than The Sun. Although it doesn't have like the completely like similar topics. A film called A Man was also a pleasant surprise, a thriller film. And then lastly, I was really skeptical towards the UK remake of Ikiru, Living, and man, the groundwork is just laid for a great film. If you have Ikiru as your screenplay base, it's definitely like way weaker, but it still has like those striking, just incredible moments in between. So Bill Nye was also in the theater when I watched it. So that was a pleasant surprise because like I didn't talk about it yet, but there's press and industry screenings, and I had press access, so I could go to those. But there's also the public ones. And at the premieres usually like because these films are all like yeah, I think not a single one of them wasn't a world premiere, which is also a bit like something that's special about Cannes and Venice. And usually the cast and crew comes out, so that's kind of fun. There were people who were solely on that little island on Venice, camping outside the red carpet all day just to get a glimpse of a bunch of celebrities, which was like a surreal thing to see. But yeah, Living was also not really bad. And yeah, those were my top 10 films. The other ones I already mentioned: Banshees, The Whale, Tar, White Noise, Bones and All, and Master Gardener were my top 10.
We should get into the award winners of the.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. One film, like the biggest film I missed was Athena. I heard some great things about it. The ending apparently isn't too great, but everything before, just like we said with the trailer, it packs a lot of energy. So that's another Netflix film that premiered there. But yeah, let's talk about awards, man.
I guess in no particular order, but we'll just quickly go. The best young actor or actress award actually went to Taylor Russell in Bones and All. Obviously you saw Bones and All. Do you think that's a deserving award?
Yes.
Yep.
I think I'm glad it didn't go to the guy in The Sun because he was really bad. I'm just thinking if there was any other child performance that stood out, but I don't think so. There was a teen performance in On the Fringe, on Los Margenes. That was quite good with Penelope Cruz. There was also 2 Penelope Cruz films that I didn't talk about. Those work quite well. And there's a film called Les Enfants des Autres, Other People's Children, that is with Virgin Efira and Rushdie Sem, but he's here an actor, not also the director. There's a little girl in that film that is does quite well as well. But I think yeah, she deserves it. I don't think she's like so good that it would be in Oscar nomination territory, but certainly some awards that do award young actresses, she's in there, I assume.
For the award of best film, the Golden Lion for best film went to All the
Yeah.
Beauty and the Bloodshed.
Notice I didn't talk about that film because I missed it. I did miss it. I'm seeing it soon. It's playing at the Zurich Film Festival in like 2 weeks. So I'll get around to that. But yeah, I heard some great things about it. Although I think the jury choices this year were so weird. I haven't seen this film, so I can't say like if I would agree it's the best out of the festival. I assume probably it doesn't beat Banshees and the Whale. I just don't see me being wowed by this. But it's also not a feature film. It's a documentary.
It's about a battle against a big pharma. So yeah, that's gonna be a bit interesting to see how it goes against all of these features. Then in terms of special jury prizes, we've got
Mhm.
No Bears came into a winning. No,
Yeah.
Ewan shaking his head. No, you think you
Okay,
you
so
were
I've
right.
had a
You want
conversation on this
Athena.
with a fellow film critic over on Twitter because I haven't seen any other Jafar Bahani films. He's an Iranian filmmaker that I think now is like like real life is interesting, is an interesting comparison to the film because it kind of ties into what it's trying to depict or depicting or whatever, but he inserts himself in his films. So if you thought Bardo was self-indulging, it is so beyond anything that I could enjoy because it's so lame, boring, annoying. I get the story because it's about a director who is on uh in a small town in Iran directing a film in Turkey because he's not allowed to go into that. I don't know the politics there, so maybe I'm off, but that's just like the premise of the film, and it's about the small town stuff that happens there, and I guess juries eat that up. But I just thought this movie was so boring. Like I didn't like it at all. I don't see why. And yeah, I don't know. They also
Well,
gave Stars at Noon the jury prize in Cannes, so there's always the weird jury pick.
the Silver Lion went to Saint
Yeah.
Omar.
Another film that wasn't really great, I'd say. It's like a court drama that really stays in there with a lot of like locked off shots. I guess focusing on the performances. The performances were great. I just thought this movie was really boring because it didn't do much, and it was just like basically an introduction, 15 minutes, and then just like an hour of just court, just boring, plain old court stuff, and it just was. I just didn't like it as well.
Then we've got the Silver Lion Award for Best Director, and it went to Luca. How do you pronounce his name again?
Guadagnino.
Luca
Yeah.
Guadagnino for Bones and All. Once again, getting another little award here. Won't be the only
Mhm.
film that gets 2 awards. We haven't even spoken about Best Actor and
Yeah.
Best Screenplay yet. But obviously, I haven't seen Bones. I haven't seen any of these films, but
Yeah.
I have
You
seen
will soon.
a
They
little
will
bit
release
of
soon.
Luca's work before, and
Yeah.
he is quite excellent. He's a very talented film director. So it is kind of exciting to hear some good stuff about this film. Would you say it is worthy of getting Best Director, Ewan? Obviously,
I don't think so.
Your opinion is more important than the
Yeah,
entire
the ones
jury
of the grand jury.
of Venice, the grand jury.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you reckon Best Director for him?
I think that should have gone to Todd Field. I think Tar is an excellently directed film. Maybe the most directing is done in Blonde, but I don't think it's like done super well. But Todd Field with Tar did an excellent job, and I think Luca Guadagnino is like, I think it's also when I see an original film that's not based like a novel adaptation, I'm also a bit more wowed by the directing. So I mean, he would be a runner-up. I think he would be there with Martin McDonough and yeah, Martin McDonough and Todd Field for me. But yeah, I mean, good choice.
Well, speaking
But I don't
of,
think it's gonna.
Tar,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
speaking of Tar,
Yeah.
obviously, Best Actress went to Kate Blanchett for Tar.
Yes.
You said yes, this is deserving earlier.
Yeah.
Yep, she did
Yeah.
a phenomenal
Yeah.
job.
This is. I think she had the best performance coming out of Venice. She'll. I mean, currently, I don't see anyone in contention for Best Actress. I think she's currently the front runner for the Oscar race as well. It's a big, grand performance, and she nails it. That's great.
That's excellent. And rounding it
Mhm.
off, we've got two awards, both coming
Yeah,
from the Banshee of Inishirin. As we just spoke about Best
yeah.
Actress, we should talk about Best Actor. And that went to
Hmm.
Colin Farrell for his performance in the Banshees of Inishirin. Same
Yeah.
thing. Do you think it is deserving of the award?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking about anyone else than Brendan Fraser after just that, like, I guess, really transformative performance. But this is not the Oscars. I think the Oscars are definitely going for the performance that is like where you change your body the most. That's what they and he plays like a guy who's like 300 kilograms or 600 pounds heavy. Like it's a big transformation, and I think it was funny when like people saw him on the red carpet and was like, wait, he didn't actually get that fat? What? But Banshees, it's a smaller performance that Colin Farrell does, but it is the comedic timing in that film, and I think that's something that Martin McDonagh does so well, and it's also why it got the next award, because I think that like goes hand in hand. Um, it is perfect. Like the comedic stuff in Banshees is just perfect. I think for you this might be like a five bomber of like
Oh,
five star banger. For me it was a 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5. Really strong film, and everyone in the film gives a great performance. So like for me, the toss up between my two favorite films of the festival, I'm fine with Colin Farrell finally getting some awards hype, maybe because he's never gotten a Oscar nomination so far. So if this takes him all the way, I'm all for it, man.
yeah.
Give him
And
that golden
obviously,
statue.
last one is obviously the screenplay for the Banshees of Inisherin went to Martin McDonagh. For
Yeah,
anyone who
no
doesn't
contention there.
know
Mhm.
the rest of his filmography, we are talking about the man who did Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, In Bruges, and
Yeah.
Seven Psychopaths, which in the reverse order, I believe I gave a 3.5 stars, 4 stars, 4.5 stars,
Hmm.
which would make sense that this next film would be a five bomber from me because that is the
Yeah.
order of release. Uh, if for
Yeah.
those of you who
Just gets
haven't
better.
seen those films, they are all excellent. They're all spectacular in many different ways. The
Hmm.
comedy, the humor in it is so well done, and that does come from the
Yeah.
screenplay. If you want to
Hmm.
read a very well written film, in terms of the screenplay, I would recommend reading any of those three scripts, as
Yeah.
I have done. I have read all three, and they are
Oh, you
all
have.
incredible. Yeah, no, it's one of the few because I don't enjoy reading a lot of screenplays. Like I as much as
Yeah.
Tarantino's films are very, very good, his screenplays are very
Hmm.
messy and it kind of annoys me.
Right.
But Martin McDonagh's
Yeah.
screenplays are a lot neater and you can see a lot
Yeah.
of the humor and a lot of. You can pretty much picture the majority of the film whilst you're reading it. And that's one of the things I
Right.
quite enjoyed. Now, maybe I'm cheating because I've seen the films before I've read the screenplay. But either
Yeah.
way, if you want to read good screenplays, Martin McDonagh is an excellent example of of good screenplays. And if you want to learn how to write a screenplay,
Mhm.
read one of them as well. They all
Yeah.
reek excellent cinematic experiences. That's exactly what they
Hmm.
all are. Just an excellent small scale film done super well. So leading
Yeah.
on from these awards, do we see any of these becoming Oscar contenders? Because it doesn't matter what freaking award you win at Venice or Cannes or Cannes, depending
Yeah.
where in the world.
Can gun. Yes.
Do we
Uh
see any of these becoming Oscar nominated? Because if you
well,
say that uh, Colin Farrell is Oscar worthy, and you say that Oscars like
I'll be
transforming
talking about.
experiences, are we going to see Brendan
Mhm.
Fraser nominated as well?
I'd say so. Are we talking about Best Picture or also the performances? Because that
No,
opens
no.
the
Well, just
gap a bit.
any of these films. Do you think that are going to rock up
Right.
onto our Oscar nomination doorstep?
Well, the thing is, with the English films, or like the English language films, it's a bit easier to say because there's not like the selection by the country for the international Oscar. Because there were a bunch of like I guess international films that I could see going up for best international feature. But talking about solely best picture, I think Banshees is in there for sure. The Whale, people were a bit split on it because you can really feel that it's based. I haven't even said that it's
An
based on a
Aronofsky
stage play.
film? An Aronofsky film
It
that's
also,
not
yeah,
diverse, device. What words?
divisive. Yeah,
Divisive. Oh God.
that would be something preposterous if it weren't divisive. But like, it has some lines that are a bit like exposition heavy,
got
a
some
bit
lines.
heavy handed. But I think it comes together with like with the emotional, just like being emotionally really heavy. And say I didn't even mention Sadie Sink. I think Sadie Sink might sneak into best supporting actress, but I don't think so because she plays someone who's quite mean. She plays the daughter of Brandon Fraser, and I really enjoy that performance because like everything in that film is so raw. Like it's very uncomfortable to watch. And there's also another supporting role of Hong Chao. She's amazing in it as well. Everyone in the film is great, but I think Brendan Fraser is the safe lock of one of the frontrunners for the film, for the Oscars as well. So for my two picks would be Banshees and The Whale. Tar, maybe with the 10 picks, could sneak its way in there. I don't see anything else making it in there. Like White Nose, no. Blonde, certainly not. The Sun, dead. Bardo, no. Bones and All as well. Yeah, I don't know. Living as well. I don't think there's anything else that makes it in there. With international, there's too many films, and I think we would have to wait and see until they make the selection. But I think Le Mien, and so that's the French film, Our Ties, and Luxembourg are the ones that I think are the strongest internationally. And that's, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And
That's
there was a
Venice,
bunch of
baby.
like Spanish films as well. That is Venice, baby. That's a wrap. There were a bunch of Italian films, I guess, as well. That like watching them, I guess with an Italian crowd, you could really feel that certain countries have a particular style of film that they kind of do, and like it's not like that obvious, but it's just like certain conventions that just pop up in those films, and it's really fun to see. You know, when you're not that well versed in just the general releases of that country. But overall, great experience. I'll definitely be going again next year if I can. To no pun intended, to Gun as well if I can. And yeah, just really fun to get to see these films with a bunch of other I guess industry professionals, and before everyone's reactions is out. I think that's really fun to like then kind of explore it for yourself. You know, you have no reference
Without a
point so
bias.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a bias. And yeah, go check out my list, my ranked list. I'll link it below in the show notes. And yeah, add some of those films to your watch list, because most of them are playing for the Oscar season. They'll probably all be releasing later this year, at least most of them, so you don't have to wait for too much longer. But yeah, Lachlan, that's pretty much it for Venice and 79.
It's good to be
And
back. It's good to be back.
good to be back. Good to be back. And yeah, looking forward to talking about some films that you've also seen. So yeah, if you want to follow Lachlan or me on our socials, those are linked below. Same goes for everything Quiet on Set. There's a link tree that will take you to our video feed, to our audio feed, to our letterbox, to our TikTok, to our Instagram. All of those socials are linked below. I got a bunch of more reviews from Venice coming on my YouTube channel. Go check that out. And I'll do a bunch of other, I think also reviews for Cannes that I missed as they release now. So there'll be a bunch of reviews for upcoming films over there. And yeah, what else is there to say? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more podcasts and leave a like.
And that's Venice, baby.
And that
Thanks
is
for
Venice,
joining
baby.
us,
And yeah, we'll catch you on
Venice
Monday.
Baby episode. Now that I'm back on the clock, I will go watch movies. I got a 2-week break.
Mhm.
You know, I watch movies
Yeah.
for leisure, and I got to watch movies for this podcast. So now I've got to do.
You're done with playing
I'm
Batman
done.
games, okay?
I'm done. And maybe
Yeah.
go watch all the Batman movies. So yeah, I guess we'll catch everybody back on the main show next week.
Thanks for tuning in, and yeah.
Arrivederci!